Shalom. I'm Eddie Chumney of Hebraic Heritage Ministries, and we welcome you to this week's Focus Israel Report. In this week's report, we're going to be sharing with you regarding Israel's response to the Palestinians joining the International Criminal Court in a call by European foreign ministers to label Israel products made in the West Bank. And it is as follows. On April the 1st, the Palestinians officially joined the International Criminal Court. Judge Kanuko Osaki, acting president of the court, said, "It is a pleasure for me to address this gathering at which we formally welcome the State of Palestine as the 123rd state party to the Rome Statute. By acceding to the Rome Statute, the State of Palestine has entered the growing majority of the world's nations that have combined their efforts for the purpose of ending impunity for the most serious crimes of concern to humanity." Palestinian Authority Foreign Minister Riyad al-Malki, who represented the Palestinians at the ceremony, said that in the face of the great injustice our people are enduring and the repeated crimes committed against them, Palestine has decided to seek justice, not vengeance. The Palestinians' decision to join the court should be viewed in this light, Malki said. Our policy reflects a commitment to international law and universal values. He added, "We now have a weapon which we can use against any Israeli political and military official. This weapon will serve as a deterrent for Israel officials and prevent them from perpetrating crimes against the Palestinian people in the future." Malki reiterated the Palestinians' pledge to cooperate with International Criminal Court prosecutors and judges to promote the principles and objectives of the court in the Rome Statute. Palestine remains one of the most important tests of the will and ability of the international community, he said. It is a test that the world cannot afford to fail. Chief PLO negotiator Saeb Erekat hailed the accession to the court as a national and historic day for the Palestinians. The decision to join, he added, marked a qualitative transformation in the strategy of the Palestinian struggle. Erekat stressed that the Palestinian leadership would not backtrack on its decision to join the court. Those who are afraid of facing justice should stop committing crimes, he said. Senior Palestinian official Saeb Erekat also said that the International Criminal Court had already begun a preliminary examination of alleged Israeli crimes from the Gaza war last summer. Earlier this year, the Palestinians accepted the court's jurisdiction dating back to June 2014 to ensure that last summer's Gaza war between Israel and Hamas will be included in any review. The legal and technical committees have been extensively working on finalizing the two files, Erekat said. We will conduct all practical moves directly after Palestine is officially declared an International Criminal Court member. International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda has already launched a preliminary review to determine if there are grounds for an investigation of possible war crimes in the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. Prosecution spokeswoman Florence Olara said that there are no timelines for how long a preliminary examination can take. Some have taken months, others are continuing after years. Two senior Palestinian officials said the Palestinians will wait for the outcome of that review, which could take months or years, before considering further action. Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Malki said, "I don't want to disappoint our people, but the International Criminal Court procedures are slow and long and might face lots of obstacles and challenges and might take years to complete." In response, Israel Foreign Ministry spokesman Emmanuel Nachshon said, Palestine had no right to join the International Criminal Court because there was no Palestinian state under international law. This meant, he said, that the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor had erred earlier this year in accepting the Palestinian request for a preliminary examination into alleged war crimes stemming from last summer's Operation Protective Edge in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Authority government, which has established a partnership with the murderous Hamas terrorist organization that carries out war crimes like those carried out by Islamic State, is the last one that can threaten to file claims in the International Criminal Court, Nachshon stated. Israel said that the Palestinian decision to join the International Criminal Court is hypocritical, saying that Palestinian intentions at the International Criminal Court contradicted the goals of the court and would lead to a destructive politicalization that harms the body's stature. He added that there was no room for the court, which was established to bring to justice people responsible for the worst crimes and atrocities in the world, to cooperate with those who merely sought to abuse its limited resources. Unilateral Palestinian steps, first and foremost, joining the International Criminal Court, blatantly violated the basic principles agreed upon between the sides to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through negotiations, the Foreign Ministry spokesman said. These steps, he continued, highlighted the Palestinians' refusal to conduct peace negotiations with Israel. When the Palestinians decided to apply for membership in the International Criminal Court at the end of December, Israel decided that it would withhold the monthly transfer of taxes that Israel collects for the Palestinians. Under existing agreements, Israel collects taxes and customs on behalf of the Palestinians and then transfers this money to them. That revenue accounts for about 70% of the Palestinians' budget. Israel withheld these funds from December through March. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu decided to renew the transfer of the tax revenues on the advice of defense establishment officials who warned of the possible collapse of the Palestinian Authority. Behind the scenes, however, according to sources in Israel, the transfer of the funds were conditioned on the Palestinians maintaining their security coordination with Israel and refraining from filing claims against Israel at the International Criminal Court. Therefore, Israel released to the Palestinian Authority over 1.3 million shekels in tax revenues. In doing so, they also withheld 160,000 shekels of the tax revenues to pay for outstanding debts, particularly to the Israeli Electric Company, to which the Palestinian Authority owes nearly 2 billion shekels. Initially, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas ordered the funds to be returned because money had been deducted to cover debts to Israeli utility companies. Abbas said, "We are returning the money. Either they give it to us in full or we go to arbitration or to the International Criminal Court. We will not accept anything else." However, in a compromise agreement, Israel agreed to release the money to the Palestinians in exchange for a partial reduction of the Palestinian $500 million debt for electricity and other services. The United States has been pressuring Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to change his position that the funds would be released after Israel deducts the huge amounts of money the Palestinian Authority owes Israel. Israel reportedly agreed to the compromise for humanitarian reasons and with an eye to ensuring regional stability. It was one of the number of humanitarian steps Israel had taken, including authorizing the water hookup for the new Palestinian city of Rawabi and increasing the volume of water it provided to the Gaza, officials said. In other news, 16 out of 28 European Union foreign ministers wrote a letter calling on the European Union Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini to advance a proposal to mark products made in West Bank settlements and to assure correct and coherent implementation of European Union labeling legislation. After praising Mogherini for renewing the European Union's commitment to the Middle East peace process, the letter draws the foreign policy chief's attention to a similar letter in 2013 to her predecessor, insisting the implementation of the Union's legislation was an important component of the Middle East policy. The letter said, following the public commitment made by the Council in May and December of 2012, and more recently in November 2014, we remain of the view that this is an important step in the full implementation of European Union long-standing policy in relation to the preservation of the two-state solution. The foreign ministers emphasized that European consumers must indeed have confidence in knowing the origin of goods they are purchasing. Greenline Israel and Palestinian producers will benefit from this, they said. Currently, only a handful of European Union nations have ordered their supermarkets to mark products made in Israeli settlements. As mentioned in the letter, the demand for a unified European policy on the labeling of West Bank goods had been raised several times in recent years. Israeli officials fired back at the call by 16 European foreign ministers to mark products made in the West Bank settlements, evoking a Holocaust-era comparison of claiming that the European Union was blaming Israel for the stalemate in peace talks with the Palestinians. Israel Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman called the plan hypocritical, sanctimonious, and cynical, noting that the murder and expulsion of Palestinians by Islamic State in Syria was going by quietly in Europe. He said, "No European foreign minister has demanded an emergency meeting of European Union diplomats, of the European Union, or of the UN Security Council. Other than a few public statements, nothing is being done. I have a suggestion for them on how to label the products," he said. "They can label all products from the West Bank or Judea and Samaria and the Golan Heights with a yellow star. I think that is extremely fitting in the cynical and hypocritical position expressed in this letter. We know that what begins as marking Israeli products quickly deteriorates into an overall boycott of Israeli goods." Yesh Atid party leader Yair Lapid said that this is a de facto call to boycott Israel. He said, "According to these guidelines, there is no difference between products which are produced over the 1967 borders and those that are produced within the 1967 borders. This is an irresponsible call that could create havoc on the Israeli economy. This kind of call is a stain on the European Union, and the state of Israel has to fight to prevent this kind of initiative," he said. Israel's Energy Minister Silvan Shalom slammed the move as counterproductive, saying they do little to promote peace between Israel and the Palestinians. According to him, such moves began a decade ago and have achieved little. Shalom said that the move placed on the onus of the stalemate in peace talks on Israel and not on the Palestinians. Finally, Israel Transportation Minister Israel Katz of the Likud political party said that European Union foreign ministers decided to boycott Israeli products whose sources is in the settlements, not Syrian produce of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and not produce from the Gaza Strip, which is under the control of Hamas murderers, or any other murderous terror regime in the world. Only Israeli produce. Katz condemned European hypocrisy nourished by a combination of ancient anti-Semitism and new Islamic influence. In other matters, following the March 17th elections in Israel, where Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's party, the Likud party, won the most votes in the election, thus giving Netanyahu the right to form the next government coalition, he has until May 7th to form his government. It is widely expected that he'll end up forming a nationalistic right-wing government. Those political parties who have agreed to join his government to date are the Socio-Economic Party, headed by former Likud cabinet member Moshe Kalin of the Kulanu Party, as well as the ultra-Orthodox parties Shas and United Torah Judaism. In a surprise announcement, Israel Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman announced that his party, Israel Beitenu, would not be a part of the new government being formed. This means that in order for Netanyahu to form a government, he will most likely need to make an agreement with the modern Orthodox religious Zionist party, Jewish Home. Well, that's going to conclude this week's report, where we shared with you Israel's response to the Palestinians joining the International Criminal Court and a call by European Union foreign ministers to label Israeli products made in the West Bank, which ultimately sets the stage for boycotting Israeli goods. Until we do it again, Shalom in Yeshua the Messiah. Amen.